I developed a weird physical connection with my aloof roommate. He eats, I get stuffed. He showers, I feel hands all over me. When he takes care of his personal needs, I have to bite my pillow for dear life. I finally cracked and begged him to show some restraint. He slowly walked up to me. What if I can't hold it in? Chapter 1. My stomach suddenly felt uncomfortably bloated, and I reluctantly opened my eyes. I wanted to roll over, but couldn't help letting out a burp. Unable to fall back asleep, I had no choice but to get out of bed and walk around with my bulging stomach, looking exactly like a pregnant woman taking a stroll. Sigh, just my rotten luck. I, an ordinary guy, had somehow formed a strange physical connection with my aloof roommate, Austin. It had only been a few days, and I was already about to lose my mind. When he ate, I felt full. Our builds were so different, so naturally our appetites were different too. Even when I was painfully stuffed, I still had to force myself to eat a little bit. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep up my nutrition, and I'd lose 5 pounds in a few days. And if he got bumped into while playing basketball, my body would definitely be covered in black and blue bruises the next day. The most troublesome part was that every night when he took a shower, I felt like I was being touched by invisible hands. From head to toe. It was both weird and embarrassing. So, whenever he was in the bathroom showering, I could only huddle inside my bed curtains, panting quietly, gritting my teeth, and enduring it, terrified that I would accidentally make a sound. After a few days of this, I started shaking involuntarily the moment I saw him. I had become extremely sensitive. I had wanted to talk to Austin about this several times. But how do I even bring it up? This situation is simply too bizarre. I can't exactly tell him to eat less, right? Stop showering? Stop exercising? That's completely impossible. Telling him the truth directly is even more out of the question. If I told him about this kind of physical connection, not only would he not believe it, but he'd probably think I had mental issues. I felt even more listless. Forget it, just endure it. As long as nothing major happens to him, everything else is no big deal. I walked back and forth in the dorm with my bloated stomach, watching my other 2 roommates play video games. After walking for a while, my pajama pants felt too tight. I subconsciously pulled them down a bit and lifted my shirt slightly, exposing half my stomach to let it breathe. It's so much more comfortable without the restriction. Suddenly, the dorm door was gently pushed open. Austin was back. Seeing me standing there with my stomach exposed, his footsteps paused. His gaze seemed to quickly sweep over my stomach and waist. At the same time, I felt my heart rate start to accelerate. That wasn't my heartbeat. It was Austin's. It was so strange. Ever since this connection formed, every time Austin saw me, I could feel his heart beating very fast. Sometimes I even wondered if he had a heart condition, or if I just looked too terrifying. It shouldn't be that bad, right? Although his heartbeat was absurdly fast, Austin's expression remained very calm. He averted his gaze, nodded, bypassed me, and walked straight to his wardrobe. He put down his bag and took off his shoes. With a lift of his arms, he pulled off his short-sleeved shirt. His muscles, fresh from a workout, were still a bit swollen. The lines were sharp, gleaming with a bit of sweat. Under the dorm lights, he looked incredibly striking. To be honest, a handsome guy of Austin's type was absolutely top tier in our circles. It was just that he particularly hated homosexuality and had even beaten up a guy who harassed him. To avoid being beaten up by him discovering my sexual orientation, I had always deliberately kept my distance from him, pretending to be straight. And as the arrogant campus heartthrob, he was even less likely to take the initiative to form any deep friendship with an ordinary roommate like me. So we just maintained a superficial roommate relationship. I never expected that this strange physical connection would completely break me. Right now, barring any surprises, Austin was going to take a shower. Not only did I have to endure being bloated, but I also had to endure that shameful sensation. Truly was like being trapped between ice and fire. For a moment, my heart filled with resentment, and my eyes looked wronged. Elvis, what's wrong? Perhaps my gaze was too obvious. Austin suddenly turned back to look at me, his dark, bright eyes staring right at me. I immediately waved my hands awkwardly. And nothing, I was just spacing out. You should hurry up and shower. The hot water is going to run out. Austin didn't ask further. He nodded and went into the bathroom. I resentfully patted my soft stomach, turned around, and went back to bed to prepare to endure. Not long after, the familiar sensation of being touched returned, and that strange contact made me tremble. However, Austin seemed to be showering for an especially long time today. Normally, it's a 10-minute quick in and out. Today, it's been 15 minutes. Why hasn't he come out yet? If he keeps washing, his skin is going to peel off. Confused, I opened my bed curtains wanting to see what was going on. But the next second, my waist suddenly went weak. I almost fell out of bed, because I felt that my body was a bit off. Chapter 2. 11 p.m. in the dorm room. I was curled up on my bed, dripping with sweat, biting hard into my pillow. Drool seemed to be sliding down my cheeks, wet and sticky, but I couldn't even bother to wipe it. I helplessly covered my eyes with one hand, while the other tightly gripped the bedsheet. I was covered in cold sweat, my heart beating so fast it felt like it was going to explode. The sensation was double the stimulation. Austin looked so proper. How could he be secretly doing this kind of thing in the dorm bathroom? It's been half an hour. Is there something wrong with his body? I sobbed quietly while tears streamed down my face. I don't know how long it took before the feeling slowly subsided. I gasped for air, not daring to make a sound. I heard Austin come out of the bathroom and chat in a low voice with David and the others about their game. His voice was as cool and detached as ever, as if nothing had happened at all. Fine, so I'm the only one looking like a total mess. I recovered for a moment and sat up, planning to take a shower. I had to wash. My pajamas and pants were soaked through with sweat, sticky and terribly uncomfortable. It's all Austin's fault. I cursed him in my heart and rolled out of bed. Perhaps that last jolt had been too sudden. My hands and feet were weak. I accidentally lost my footing and almost fell right off the ladder. Holy shit. But the next second, someone caught me by the waist. The scent of body wash from a guy who had just showered washed over my face. I looked back in a panic, my tear-soaked eyes meeting Austin's gaze perfectly. Then I saw his Adam's apple bob, followed by the heart rate accelerating again. Thump, 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 pounding so hard my ears hurt. Aside from my own startled heartbeat, Austin's heartbeat was also transmitting through that connection. Be careful. Hold on tight next time. The guy reminded me calmly while releasing the arm around my waist. David, who was playing games, also turned around and asked with concern, "Yeah, Elvis, you scared the hell out of me just now. Good thing Austin caught you. It really was quite scary." Even the aloof heartthrob was scared into such a fast heart rate. I looked up awkwardly to thank Austin. "Austin, thank you." "You're welcome." He paused, then spoke again. "Are you going to shower?" "Yeah." I tugged awkwardly at my pants, terrified that he would see the predicament of my lower half from this close. "Yeah, please hurry up. I might need to wash again. It's a bit hot." "Huh?" I was completely dumbfounded. As a result, lying in bed that night, I was forced to dirty my pants a second time. My eyes had completely lost their focus. Austin truly lived up to being everyone's privately acknowledged, ideal partner. His physical stamina was indeed not something ordinary people could compare to. He was simply a role model among men. Even though he was impressive, I really wanted to throw him out the window. What normal person does that kind of thing twice in the middle of the night without resting? Is he not afraid of ruining his health? Listening to the sound of Austin lightly getting into bed to sleep, I was so exhausted I closed my eyes. I'm not washing anymore. I'll deal with it tomorrow morning. Dirty is dirty. Anyway, I'm already completely drained and can't even move. I have to say I was actually quite proactive. Just as it was getting light out the next day, I couldn't hold back a whimper. It was exceptionally obvious in the quiet dorm room. Even David's snoring paused for a moment. Before my brain could react, my hand had already hurriedly shoved my arm into my mouth. I barely managed to block all the sounds that shouldn't be made. Only then did David's snoring start up again. Trembling, I pulled back my bed curtain, looking at Austin's empty bed and the lit bathroom. Are straight guys really this energetic? I bumped right into Austin as he walked out of the bathroom, our eyes meeting in the air. His expression was calm, but a hint of an imperceptible smile was hidden in the corners of his eyes and brows. Meanwhile, I was clutching a clean pair of pants in my hand, my cheeks burning, looking much more like I was the one who had done something guilty. I couldn't help but grind my teeth. I had to remind him, otherwise, before he even felt anything, I'd probably have to buy supplements to restore my health. "Austin, I have something to say to you." He looked down at me, his dark eyes deep, as if he could see through all my embarrassment. Inexplicably, the courage I had just mustered instantly vanished. I stammered, Can I what? I'm doomed." The words were on the tip of my tongue, but I just couldn't say them. My shoulders slumped, and I said listlessly, "Can you move out of the way? I need to use the toilet." Austin raised an eyebrow, a look of confusion on his face, clearly not understanding my contradictory behavior. "All right." He stepped sideways out of the bathroom. I was listlessly preparing to go in when my arm was suddenly grabbed by a large hand. I looked back blankly, finding Austin staring fixedly at the collar of my pajamas. His tone unreadable. Elvis, are you dating someone? I froze, not understanding why he was suddenly asking this, but I answered honestly anyway. No, why? Nothing. Though he said it was nothing, Austin's face looked even worse. He didn't ask further, turning and walking towards his wardrobe. I could feel he was in a terrible mood, his profile dark and gloomy. Strange, I didn't provoke him. Why is he suddenly angry? Did I scare him again? I scratched my nose blankly and prepared to close the door to shower. Accidentally glancing up at the mirror, I finally realized what was going on. Austin must have misunderstood. He has thick skin and tough flesh. Using too much force while showering is fine for him, but I couldn't handle it. Every time, aside from the strange pleasure, it also hurt a bit. The red marks left on my body mixed with the bruises from him getting bumped in basketball. That visual, no matter how you looked at it, looked like I had been ambiguously ravaged. It was a bit spicy, and a bit NSFW. It was so bad that lately I didn't even dare wear short sleeves, keeping myself tightly wrapped up in the dorm. Now that Austin saw it, he definitely thought that while I looked honest normally, I was actually really wild behind closed doors. I resentfully took off my clothes to shower. Forget it, let him misunderstand. As long as I can keep the secret of my sexual orientation hidden, this little grievance is nothing. But exactly when is this empathy going to disappear? Can't be that when he goes on a date with a girl, I'm gonna feel it too, right? By the time I came out of the shower weighed down by my thoughts, Austin was just about to head out. At this time, he was definitely going to the cafeteria to eat. Thinking of the uncomfortable, bloated feeling from last night, I hurriedly called out to him, Austin, are you going to the cafeteria? He glanced at me. Yes. Then can I go with you? I squeezed out a fawning smile, terrified of being rejected. I had to follow him. I had to make him eat less today, otherwise, for the 1,000-meter physical fitness test this morning, not only would my heart rate explode, but I'd also run until I threw up. I originally thought Austin would refuse, but he nodded, his brows smoothing out a bit, as if the person with the cold face just now wasn't him. You can. I was a bit surprised and immediately nodded with a smile. Then could I trouble you to wait for me a moment? Go change. Okay. I quickly ran back, threw on a hoodie, grabbed my backpack, and eagerly trotted after Austin toward the cafeteria. In my mind, I was pondering how I could persuade him to eat less without getting beaten up. I have to say, walking around campus with the campus heartthrob drew an absurdly high rate of head turns. When others looked at him, they would casually sweep a glance over me too, making me, a usually invisible nobody, feel a bit uncomfortable. I quietly fell back 2 steps, opening up some distance. Austin, however, stopped in his tracks, turned his head, and looked at me calmly. Elvis, what's wrong? And nothing. Come here. His tone was flat, but it made me not dare to disobey. I slowly shuffled over, and he reached out and pulled the hood of my hoodie up. The oversized hood blocked most of my line of sight. All right, let's go. I froze for a moment. To be honest, Austin was actually quite attentive. If only he wasn't homophobic, we might have actually become good friends. Thinking of this, I subconsciously moved a little closer to him, failing to notice the slight upward curve at the corners of Austin's mouth. Chapter 3. The cafeteria was a bit crowded in the morning. I deliberately only bought 1 hamburger, while Austin bought 3 hamburgers and a large cup of soy milk. If he ate all of that, my stomach definitely wouldn't be able to handle it this morning. Seeing what was in my hand, Austin paused and frowned. Elvis, you're only eating this little? Out of money? His words reminded me. I had a sudden flash of inspiration and immediately put on a wronged expression. Yeah, I don't have enough money and haven't had time to top up my card. Austin, could you spare me a hamburger? Austin nodded, his face inexplicably softening a bit. Eat. Thank you. I gratefully took the burger and slowly bit into it. Although it was a bit shameless, I had no other choice. After taking a few bites, I looked up and saw him preparing to eat the next hamburger. I hurriedly shouted, Wait! Austin looked up at me. What's wrong? I squeezed out a smile and stammered. Can you give me this one too? I really like them. Austin raised an eyebrow, his dark eyes staring at me. I instantly grew nervous. I'm doomed. He doesn't think I'm intentionally picking a fight. Does he? Just as I thought he would refuse, he handed the hamburger to me again. All right, eat. I took it awkwardly, taking a bite of this one and a nibble of that one, intentionally eating very slowly. Austin stared at me for a while, then prepared to drink his soy milk. I swallowed the food in my mouth, occasionally glancing at his soy milk. As long as he drank more than half, I had to find a way to stop him. Perhaps my gaze was too obvious. Austin had just taken a sip of soy milk when he looked up and asked with a slightly amused expression, "Elvis, do you want to drink this too?" Biting into my hamburger, I gave 2 dry laughs. Then, "Can I drink it?" "You can." He pushed the hamburger. Note: the raw text says hamburger here, but context implies the soy milk, in front of me. Now, his entire breakfast had become mine. He looked at me with a half-smile. No matter how thick-skinned I was, at this moment, I was so embarrassed my toes were about to curl up enough to carve out a 3-bedroom apartment in the floor. After a whole breakfast, Austin had only taken a sip of soy milk, and I had eaten half of each hamburger, leaving my stomach half full. Although what I did was a bit excessive, at least I wouldn't have that terrifyingly bloated feeling, and my mood instantly improved a lot. Austin's mood seemed pretty good too, completely unbothered by having his breakfast snatched away. This changed my impression of him being unreasonable. Actually, he was quite a nice guy. If someone snatched my breakfast like that, I would have punched them long ago. So once this empathy connection ends, I definitely have to treat Austin to a big meal to compensate him. If I could become friends with him, that wouldn't be bad either. Anything else I don't dare to hope for. After all, I only like him silently and don't dare let him know. When Austin and I walked into the classroom for morning class, my roommate David was already sitting there. Normally, I sat with him while Austin always sat alone in the corner of the classroom. Even so, he remained the most eye-catching presence in the room. Today was no exception. He headed straight for the corner, while I walked toward David. It was just that there was an additional pretty girl next to David. "Elvis, you look pretty good today. How about your bro introduces you to a friend?" David smiled with a hint of mischief, while the girl next to him looked a bit shy. My heart skipped a beat. Previously, to pretend to be straight, I casually asked David to help me find a girlfriend. I never expected he would actually take it to heart. What kind of mess is a gay guy like me getting into by dating a girl? I instantly got a headache. Just as I was wondering how to refuse, Austin's voice suddenly came from behind. "Elvis." I turned around and saw Austin sitting not far away. His gaze was so coldly sharp it inexplicably sent a chill down my spine. "What's wrong? Come here for a second." I obediently nodded. "David, wait until I get back to talk." Without waiting for David to stop me, I hurried over to Austin. "Austin, did you need me for something?" "I'm a bit hungry." "Ah, then what should we do?" "You ate my breakfast. What do you think we should do?" The guy propped his face up with one hand, looking unusually languid. I immediately felt a bit embarrassed and hurriedly offered a remedy. "Then I'll go to the vending machine in the hallway and buy you some bread." "Don't want to eat that." "Soy milk." "Don't want to drink that." Then what did he call me over for? Just as I was about to ask him what exactly he wanted to eat, the professor walked into the classroom. This professor was extremely strict. The moment she entered, no one dared to walk around casually or play on their phones. So, I could only ask Austin resentfully, "Can I sit next to you for this class?" Austin slowly curled his lips. "You can sit down." I sat down gratefully. Not far away, David and that girl turned back and gave me a resentful look. I didn't dare respond and could only bury my head and pretend to pay serious attention in class. Probably because I hadn't rested well last night, my body felt very weak. Not long into the class, my eyelids grew heavy, and sleepiness washed over me. After forcing myself to listen for a while, I couldn't help but lay my head on the desk, facing Austin. My voice was so soft it was almost inaudible. "Austin." He looked down at me and I vaguely felt that at this moment, he seemed somewhat gentle. "What's wrong?" "I want to sleep for a bit. If the professor looks over, can you pat me awake?" Sleep. I slowly fell asleep. Fortunately, sitting in the corner with a tall, sturdy guy blocking me from the front, the professor temporarily didn't notice my little movements. The edge of the desk pressed a mark into my face, which hurt a bit, but I couldn't be bothered to change positions and quickly fell into a deep sleep. In my daze, I felt someone cup my face. Their palm was large and warm. At the same time, my own palm felt an unusual softness. Chapter 4. When I woke up after class, Austin was already gone. I looked at my empty palm and my still warm cheek, feeling a bit dazed. David walked over and patted my head in exasperation. "Elvis, that girl stared at you for a whole period, and you didn't even give her a single glance back. What, not satisfied?" Snapping back to reality, I said embarrassedly, "It's my fault. You don't need to introduce anyone to me in the future." "David, I know you mean well, but I really have no intention of dating, and besides, I already have someone I like." David smiled gossipy but didn't push it. "All right, then I won't set you up anymore. Let's go, it's time for our class's physical fitness test." Austin has already taken a bunch of people to gather at the track. Okay. I rubbed my face and hurried to the track with him. Other majors were also taking their physical tests on the field, all panting with exhaustion after running the 1,000 meters. I suddenly stopped in my tracks, realizing a severe problem. My own running was terrible enough, but coupled with empathizing with Austin's fatigue, I might actually pass out on the track today. With a splitting headache, I hurriedly tried to find the PE teacher, claiming I felt unwell and wanted to reschedule my test. But without a medical certificate, the teacher just told me to go away. To save time, he even made all the guys in our class run together. Looking at Austin standing in the crowd, I cheered myself up. Be strong. I have to be strong. Even if I have to crawl. Actually, I probably couldn't even crawl to the finish line. At this thought, my legs started to tremble. If worst comes to worst, I'll really just crawl. If the teacher sees how pathetic I am, he should let me pass. Soon, with a blast from the teacher's whistle, the guys surged forward. The first lap was fine. I stayed close to the main group and actually didn't feel particularly tired. After all, Austin played basketball regularly, so 1,000 meters was nothing to him. But by the second lap, the fatigue of two people began to stack. My vision instantly went white. I was drenched in sweat, and my footsteps grew heavier and heavier as I gradually fell far behind. Forget it, my life is more important. At least during the makeup test, Austin won't be running, and I won't have to share his exhaustion. Just as I decided to give up and wait for the makeup test, someone suddenly appeared beside me. Panting heavily, I looked up and found it was Austin. There wasn't a single drop of sweat on his face. His breathing was just slightly hurried. Elvis, give me your hand. Ha! I reached out in confusion, and he gripped my hand tightly. Then I was pulled along into a run. The surrounding scenery and classmates became a blurry background. Feeling double the exhaustion and double the heartbeat, my gaze fell blankly onto Austin's profile. Are you straight guys all this good at making people's hearts flutter? The good news was, I passed the physical test and didn't throw up. The bad news was, I was practically a useless lump. Austin was still supporting me, keeping me walking continuously, refusing to let me lie down straight away. I whined and begged him, but he coldly refused. His gaze fixed straight on the bruises exposed when I rolled up my sleeves, and his expression shifted repeatedly. I wanted to explain, but didn't know where to start, so I could only swallow my grievances, feeling exceptionally helpless. After walking for a while longer, my heartbeat steadied quite a bit, but my limbs were still weak. Austin directly hoisted me onto his back, his face taut. I'll carry you back to the dorm. Get some rest. Before I could even react, he was already carrying me towards the dorm. A 20-year-old guy's back and shoulders were already broad and solid. Probably due to frequent exercise, his muscle lines were distinct. Resting against it, it just felt hard and hot, baking this gay guy into a blushing mess. I froze on his back, not daring to move a muscle. He didn't speak the whole way, and I was too embarrassed to open my mouth, especially since the glances cast by passing classmates made me even more flustered. Back at the dorm, he set me down on a chair. Thank you, Austin. His response was still cold. Great. Looks like he's still misunderstanding me. I resentfully bent down to untie my shoelaces myself, but my arms were trembling from exhaustion. Tisk. Austin, standing to the side, suddenly let out a soft sigh, seeming to carry a bit of impatience and resignation. Sit properly. Then, he squatted directly in front of me and started helping me take off my shoes. This action completely stunned me. I stared blankly at the guy who had already taken off one of my shoes. He saved breakfast for me, pulled me along during the physical test, and even carried me back. I could explain all of this away as deep friendship, but I knew perfectly well how bad shoes smelled right after a run. Yet Austin didn't bat an eye, taking them straight off for me. Isn't Austin being a bit too good to me? So good that it makes me feel at a loss, and makes me like him even more. It turns out that beneath his aloof exterior hides such a meticulous and gentle heart. Thinking about it carefully, aside from his slight aversion to homosexuality, he is practically perfect. Even if he misunderstands me as a loose person, he'll still bring me breakfast and take off my shoes. Suddenly, I had an impulse. I wanted to tell him about the shared empathy. He is so smart, maybe he can find a solution, and he probably wouldn't dismiss it as some supernatural nonsense. I looked him in the eye and probed softly. Austin, I want to tell you something. Something very important. What is it? He set my shoes aside and looked up at me. I gathered my courage. Something a bit absurd. Regarding you and me. He raised an eyebrow slightly, saying nothing. He just signaled with his eyes for me to continue. Pursed my lips. Have you noticed I've been a bit weird lately? For example? For example, how these inexplicable bruises keep appearing on my body. Austin's expression instantly turned ugly. One could even say gloomy. What does that have to do with me? It's not like I made them. You should go confront the culprit, not complain to me. If you're tired, rest. I don't want to hear it. After saying that, he stood up impatiently. I grabbed his wrist and said feebly, "But these marks are from you. Austin, you have to take responsibility." I could visibly see Austin's tightly wound face fracture. Chapter 5. I explained the empathy connection from beginning to end. As I spoke, I carefully observed his expression, terrified he would think I was a lunatic. Aside from some initial surprise, Austin's expression remained fairly calm throughout. "So you're saying when I eat, you feel full too, and that's why you snatched my breakfast?" "Yes. When I play basketball and bump into people, those bruises appear on you? MHM. When I take a shower, it's the equivalent of you taking a shower too?" "Yeah, that's right." "Then, cough." Austin coughed lightly, his voice a bit hoarse. "Then when I went to the bathroom these past 2 days, the tips of my ears instantly turned red, and I stammered, I actually felt it too, which is why I've had to change my pants several times." At this, the ears of the usually aloof and quiet guy also turned a bit red. He pulled up a chair and sat next to me. When he looked up again, his expression was much more serious. "Have you told anyone else?" "Not yet, I've only told you." So, have you actually verified this? It should be real. Even though I can't be 100% sure, if you don't believe me, we can test it right now. I suggested an experimental verification. You can hit yourself, and a red mark will quickly appear in the exact same spot on my arm. "I'm not doing that." Austin flatly refused, then said something surprising. "Have you tested the lips?" I was instantly stunned. Lips. The human mouth is one of the most sensitive parts of the body. There are many nerve endings on the lips that can feel slight touches and temperature changes. The lips are also one of the places where human skin is the thinnest, making it easier to feel external stimuli. As he spoke, his gaze fell on my mouth, his eyes burning as if they carried physical heat. How could a gay guy like me withstand such a direct and ambiguous temptation? I could only murmur in response, "Are you going to kiss me?" "No kissing. We'll use another method." I watched as he raised his hand and placed his fingers against his own lips. He rubbed them gently, his fingers long and slender, and those pitch-black eyes kept holding my gaze the entire time. Without being touched, my lips simultaneously swelled and turned red, like a ripe berry squeezed by a large hand, leaving behind wet, red marks. My heartbeat started accelerating again, so fast that I couldn't distinguish whether it was my heartbeat or his. I only felt my vision blur. Then, Austin used the same hand that had just rubbed his own mouth to wipe the tears from my face. His movements were very light. It gave me an inexplicable feeling of being both taken liberties with and tenderly cherished. Yet the guy's tone was incredibly rational, even coldly ruthless to a degree. "You felt so good you cried, and you're practically drooling." I couldn't help but let out a whimper. "I'm sorry." Austin looked at me and gave a soft smile. "It's fine. The experiment proves it. It seems we really do share empathy." "Elvis, what a coincidence." Is it?" I blinked somewhat helplessly, trying hard to calm myself down. "Then what should we do?" "It's simple. Until the empathy connection disappears, neither of us can date. This is being responsible to each other." Austin paused, then continued, "I'll watch my appetite and eat less, and I won't play basketball anymore either." Austin's consideration and concessions instantly made me feel a lot more relaxed. But there was still one more important and shameful matter. "Okay, then can you stop going to the bathroom to do that kind of thing? I can't take it anymore." Austin lifted his eyelids, his tone flat. "I can't control that. Sorry." How can he not control it? Can't he just suppress his desires for a couple of days? Which beautiful girl is he thinking about to be this worked up every day? I stared at Austin in disbelief, my heart feeling sour and stifled. I could only tactfully and aggrievedly say, "Then can you be a little more restrained?" Hearing this, Austin slowly leaned toward me and said something shocking. "Then what if I can't hold it in? Will you help me?" "Huh?" I shivered in fright. It was as if he was the shameless gay guy, and I had become the homophobic straight guy. Before I could react, Austin had already straightened up, as cold and detached as ever. "Just joking. I'll try my best." After telling Austin about the empathy, I felt a lot of the pressure in my heart lift. Except for that one thing he couldn't control, he said he would take care of me regarding everything else. I helplessly agreed. After all, this was already vastly better than before. As for a solution, he said he would find someone knowledgeable to look into it. Considering his family was quite wealthy, I didn't worry too much. It's just that, because of this incident, Austin and my relationship unexpectedly grew closer. Going to class together, returning to the dorm together, we were practically inseparable. Every night after he finished showering, the first thing he would do was pull back my bed curtain, as if intentionally wanting to see the way I cried from the pleasure. He was being unusually wicked. Did I use too much force today and make you hurt? Only at times like these did I dare to angrily roll my eyes at him. He was absolutely doing it on purpose. Our roommate David curiously asked once, "When did you and Austin get so close?" I stammered, not knowing how to explain, and could only say, "He's a good person, so naturally I want to interact with him more." David patted my shoulder in gratification. "Yeah, Austin really is a good guy. You're too introverted sometimes, and I worry about you. Be bolder in making friends." I smiled at him gratefully. It was true. I was an introverted and closed-off gay guy, mild-mannered, with no real temper, and a low presence, like a timid little animal. Previously, in another dorm, my sexual orientation was accidentally discovered by my roommates. They didn't say anything to my face, but their actions clearly ostracized me. After moving to this dorm, to avoid being found out, I always kept to myself. After all, homosexuality isn't accepted by the majority of people. But my current roommates were all great. David was great, and Henry, who was rarely in the dorm, was also great. Especially Austin. He was the best to me now. I could consider him a friend now. I really cherished this rare friendship. Every time I thought about eating with him, I felt a secret joy. So, I absolutely had to keep my identity as a gay guy well hidden. I just never expected that within a few days, I would be forced to expose myself. Chapter 6. The moment I returned to the dorm that day, I saw my former roommate, Gary, sitting at David's computer desk. When he saw me, he clearly froze for a moment, a trace of disgust flashing through his eyes. David greeted me excitedly. "Elvis, your old roommate is here. Let's all go out for barbecue tonight." I forced a smile and declined. "No thanks, you guys go ahead." Gary gave a cold snort and didn't say anything else. The atmosphere was noticeably off. Only innocent David remained completely oblivious. I sluggishly took off my shoes and got into bed, silently praying in my heart that he wouldn't say anything to David, and especially that he wouldn't run into Austin, who was coming back late from picking up a package. But what you fear is what you get. As David and Gary were heading out, David asked casually, "Elvis, do you want us to bring some barbecue back for you?" "No need." "Then did you eat dinner? Hasn't Austin been with you these past couple of days?" "Where is he?" David fussed over me like a mother hen. At that moment, Gary, standing beside him, suddenly mocked, "Why bother with him? Aren't you afraid of dirtying your eyes?" Inside my bed curtains, I instantly held my breath. David retorted in confusion. "What nonsense are you spouting? If he wants to eat, he eats. If not, forget it. What are you grumbling about?" Gary clearly hadn't expected David to stand up for me, so he just laid it all out. "I'm grumbling? You're the one with a problem in your head, caring about a gay guy like Elvis." He didn't keep his voice down. It was very loud. The dorm room instantly fell dead silent. David was stunned. Gary's face was full of mockery, and I let out a silent sigh. It's fine. As long as Austin didn't hear it, it's fine. I should be able to beg David to keep it a secret. But the next second, Austin appeared at the dorm entrance holding a package. He was expressionless, his jawline taut. "What did you just say?" At this, I completely panicked, my face turning deathly pale. After David dragged a cursing Gary away, I shrank back into my bed curtains, not daring to come out. I listened as Austin put his package on the floor, opened it, threw away the trash, went to the bathroom to wash his hands, and finally rustled as he changed his clothes. Everything seemed no different from usual. The atmosphere appeared calm. But my abnormal heartbeat told me that Austin's emotions were fluctuating violently. His heartbeat was fast and chaotic. I didn't know if he was angry or restraining something. Anyway, for such a homophobic person to share an empathy connection with a gay guy, he was probably disgusted to death. Thank goodness my crush on him hadn't been exposed. At least my death wouldn't be too tragic. "Elvis, come down." Austin suddenly called me. What must come will come. I took a deep breath and slowly climbed out of bed. I was just about to offer to move out of the dorm as soon as possible, but I found Austin looking at me with burning eyes. That gaze didn't look like he was looking at something dirty. Instead, it looked like he had obtained some kind of treasure, carrying a sense of joy. I asked carefully, "What's wrong?" Austin looked at me. "Sit. I'm going to tell you a story." What an unexpected development. But I still sat down nervously. Austin got straight to the point. "There's someone I like. I've liked him since the very first time I saw him." As soon as those words came out, my heart went cold. Is there anything more cruel than listening to your crush talk about love at first sight? It was practically rubbing salt in the wound. But he's a guy. I felt like my brain had taken a heavy blow, going completely blank. Austin actually likes guys? I thought he hated me a little or that he was straight, so I pretended to be straight too. I watched him laugh with others but didn't dare get close, terrified that he would discover my true feelings. Not only is he gay, but he's also harboring a secret crush. I felt a wave of sour jealousy in my heart. But a few days ago, he told me that he shared an empathy connection with me. Huh? What did he say? Empathy connection? I was stunned. He shouldn't be sharing an empathy connection with anyone else, right? In that moment, I was so happy. I felt like the heavens had seen my heart and specifically sent me a gift. And just now, the heavens gave me a second gift. The person I like also likes guys. After he finished speaking, he stretched out a long leg and hooked my stool over. My entire person was instantly pulled right in front of him. In his pitch-black eyes, I saw my own expression of disbelief, both shocked and overjoyed, looking like an absolute fool. I said softly, "Austin, so it turns out you like me. So it turns out the heartbeat I felt from you was your heart fluttering for me." He raised an eyebrow. His expression was still cool, but his eyes carried a gentle warmth. "Was it frequent?" I smiled. "Very frequent. So frequent that I thought you either had a bad heart or were terrified of me." "That's pretty embarrassing." "Not embarrassing at all." I slowly raised my hand and gently hooked his long, slender fingers resting on his thigh. "Right now, I can also feel that you're nervous, that you're excited. Austin, if only you could feel my heartbeat." He asked calmly, "Why?" "Because you would realize that my heart also flutters just for you." In this ambiguous atmosphere, Austin fell silent for a long while, just staring fixedly at me. "Do you think if two people with an empathy connection kiss, the pleasure would be doubled?" Question mark. Why did the speed limit suddenly disappear? Shouldn't we be on the pure, innocent romance route right now? I answered honestly, "It should be." "Then what if with you?" The last few words were spoken so softly, but they instantly made my entire face burn bright red. I knew it. Deep down in his bones, he was actually a completely indecent guy. By the time David rushed back to the dorm looking completely stressed out, I was lying on my bed in a daze. Austin was in the bathroom doing laundry. "Elvis, I already taught that guy a lesson for running his mouth." Austin didn't give you a hard time, did he?" I blinked. "No." "Then why are your eyes all red and your lips swollen? Did he hit you?" No, it's because..." "Because of what? Tell me. I've got your back." Just as I was so embarrassed I didn't know how to explain, Austin came out of the bathroom, casually strolling by, and dropped a single sentence. "Because I'm his boyfriend." 5 seconds later, a piercing scream erupted in the boys' dorm. "You pair of gay dogs! Lock it down forever." If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.